Professional services in a multi-company environment. Acumatica allows professional service companies with multiple entities to share resources across projects. The system automates customer and intercompany billing so related entities are compensated when their staff performs work on projects which are owned and billed by a different company. In this video, I show a Canadian consultant working on U.S. company projects. Acumatica automatically performs project billing for the customers and completes the intercompany transactions. To keep things simple, my consultant will work only 1 hour on both projects. I start by submitting a time card in the Canadian company on behalf of a Canadian employee. 1 hour of work is done on 2 projects. One project is fixed price and the other is time and materials. After approving and releasing the time card, expenses flow into the projects. From inside the US entity, I can see that 1 hour of labor results in 36 US dollars because it was converted from 50 Canadian dollars at the current project exchange rate. I can manually run my allocation rule, which creates 2 transactions, one for the project I'm in and one for the intercompany project. My project now has unbilled revenue and work in progress. Instead of waiting for my billing period, I'm running the customer billing now. In this example, the customer is billed for 1 hour of work at the customer rate of $100 per hour. Switching over to the fixed price project, I can see it's similar. The same costs appear for 1 hour of labor. Next, I run an allocation to create the intercompany billing. Since this project is fixed price, there's no need to re-rate the labor for this project. Next, I run billing, and the customer is billed $100 because the project revenue budget is $1,000 and the project's 10% done. Next, I can create the intercompany bill. To bill the US for the use of Canadian labor, I switch over to my Canadian entity. Here, I run the Canada to US project billing. This would normally be scheduled to run automatically. The result is an invoice for 2 hours at the rate of $50 Canadian per hour. I can automatically generate the AP bill from this invoice. Since Brady does not have access to do that, I'll switch to the administrator account. Now, as the administrator, I can generate the bill and release it for the US entity. The last step is to reconcile funds between the US and Canada. This diagram shows how the process works. I've completed all the steps up to the final payment. To learn more about the process, I'll show how I set up some things in the scenario. I created 3 customer projects, 1 for Canada and 2 for the US. This is a time and materials project for a US customer. All currencies are in US dollars because the customer is billed in US dollars and the company's currency is US dollars. Understanding this allocation rule is key to understanding the solution. This rule performs 2 labor allocations. The first calculates the billing amount to the customer. In this allocation setting tab, I indicate that the new project transaction can be used for another allocation. This second labor allocation uses the output of the first one to create an intercompany billing transaction. I limit the selection of the Canadian branch because I'm only creating billing transactions when a Canadian employee works on the project. I don't need to do intercompany billing otherwise. I created a different rate type, so intercompany billing rates can be different from customer billing rates. And then finally, I post the intercompany billing transaction to a special project which compensates Canada for the use of their resources. If I expect my Canadian resources to submit expense reports, then I'd need to create another step for rebilling those expenses without the markup. The fixed price project uses different allocation and billing rules. This allocation only requires creating the intercompany transactions and uses the same process as the prior allocation rule. Progress billing utilizes the revenue budget and percentage of completion to bill the customer. I created 2 intercompany projects, one for each billing relationship. In this example, Toronto will bill products wholesale. Note that the project currency is different from the base currency, so I set the currency rate type. Acumatica automatically updates daily exchange rates. The billing rule takes unbilled transactions from customer project allocations and creates an AR invoice. The invoice is created in the Canadian company. In this demo, Brady Sullivan worked on a US project, so I had to define a labor rate in Canadian dollars. In this video, I used the project-based intercompany billing option. This option is best when there are a limited number of companies. The process is completely automated. Depending on your business, it might be easier to create GL accounts to track intercompany billing. This eliminates the need to create an allocation rule for each company. Acumatica projects and project transactions support 3 different currencies. Transactions with a different currency are automatically converted to the base and project currencies. This allocation rule computes customer and intercompany billing. If needed, I can configure allocations to support many different billing scenarios. This is one of 2 billing rules I created to perform intercompany billing. For more information, visit our website or consult with your Acumatica partner.